Hey guys, welcome to your reading. So I just posted a video on my other channel about how existence is suffering, and that's okay. Of course, I hopefully, if you guys are going through anything, just let you guys know it's temporarily. And also, I love you guys. Yes, because with the Justice card here, everything's going to come to balance real soon. And as you see, I always associate the color red with the root chakra. So if anyone has lower back pain or feeling like they're in a state of fight and flight, perhaps doing Malasana or just sitting crisscross applesauce will definitely help that a lot. Or sitting in a deep squat position. But what I was going to get here is that, with all this turbulence going on in the world, everything's going to come to a balance. I was watching a video earlier from Eckhart Tolle about how the consciousness will rise and then fall and then rise and fall. It happens in the yuga cycles, Of course, we're not in the Kali Yuga anymore. We're in the Dwapara. I might butchered that, the age of energy. We are accelerating, but then at the same time, things are going up and down through cycles. It might be down for a bit, but it's going to progress more. Just like, this war going on in Iran, or I think there's a war. I haven't really been keeping up with social media or news because all it does is bring me down, and I'm still dealing with my issues just like you are. We're all human beings here. We have our own demons to deal with, especially when we have past hurts. Possibly for some of us here dealing with past hurts, that's okay because there's going to be a balance back to it. And, there's going to be justice brought to it. And if you realize this past hurt, chances are it's probably not going to come back to bother you again. Because I know when I was dealing with narcissism for a while, I didn't understand why it was keeping them showing up in my life. Until I realized in high school, I was a bit of a narcissist. And I was hiding from it. And then it's just like life started mirroring back towards me people like that. And once I realized that, those people just stopped coming into my life. You don't have to go and talk to these people and say, I'm sorry, but just important to be consciously aware of your own actions. And it's okay to be hurt by certain people, and you have a hard time, struggling, to be kind to those people. It's okay, you're human. Yeah, because when this balance comes, a new beginning will arise, the sun's going to be shining on you. Some of us may have to move to a new location or take that leap of faith into the unknown. Again, with that water, looks like the tide kind of just hitting against the shorelines, There's that turbulence again. Energy's a little chaotic right now. And I see someone here possibly have a dog with them, or possibly a spirit guide. And with the Fool card, when you take a change of pace in something, there's that flower that the Fool is holding, you're blossoming something. Whether it's like a new you, or possibly something you've been interested in a long time. But again, we gotta step out of our comfort zone. Even with these turbulences going on, Now, I know I emphasize this in every single one of my videos because this has been the one tool that's been transforming my life, and that's meditation and breath work. Why I choose that over anything else? Because for one, it's free, and two, it's more refined, and it's not crude. Of course, when I'm referring to crude in context, I'm referring to the outside world. You know, if that elevates you, then by all means, choose a crude path. It's not negative. Crude is not negative in this context. It's just you have to rely on the exterior to obtain these. Like going to church, you know, you have to walk to a building, and then you have to listen to someone, and then you have to open a book to understand this connection with life. But with meditation, you don't need to go anywhere. You just look within, and then you can just find life, find God within you. You know? And it's okay to make mistakes, you know? We're all fools in disguise. If anyone tells you that they're not, they're the biggest freaking liar you ever met. And possibly really ignorant. I'm an ignorant person too. Okay, so with the Five of Pentacles, it's crazy. I was just talking about a church here, you know, with that stained glass. That's what I think of when I see stained glasses. I guess that's the only thing that I know of that still does stained glass is churches. Could be wrong. But yeah, with this turbulence, you know, some of us might be going through some pain and suffering, you know. Some of us may have just got kicked out of their house, you know, out and left out in the cold, or left out in the cold from, you know, relationships that they were very close and dear to. And now some of us here are trying to seek refuge, trying to somewhere, whether it's like a new place, new opportunity, or possibly trying to reconnect with themselves. So that way they can create something that will help with their future endeavors. Again, if you feel like you need to go to a church, go. If you need to see a therapist or a psychologist, please do so. I'm going to see a psychologist. I think everyone needs to go see a psychologist, even if you're okay. It just kind of helps you keep accountability over yourself. You know, I know sometimes it may seem here, some things I say kind of sounds very harsh and cold here, but unfortunately it's the truth. Real truth, what I was talking about in my last video, is that we all, like, existence is suffering, something that Buddha was saying. And that is the truth. Yeah, because when we go on this new path, you know, with this energy, you know, again, feels like there's a battle out there. But it's all temporarily. You know, you have the knowledge, especially if you're watching this video, to overcome these hardships in life, especially this turbulence. Of course, the best medicine here is time. And some of us here might be dealing with, you know, again, past relationships, you know, past inner thoughts. And to me, I try to be optimistic about it and realize why those thoughts keep on looping. I know with me, what I was calling this inner battle was What's the biggest issue I had for the longest time, and I still have it to this day, is speaking. Of course, I feel like I'm more clear and concise today than I was yesterday. So, woohoo, one step at a time. And I think that's why I keep on having the looping thoughts with people back at home, because of my communication skills. I was a natural introvert, and I didn't really like to talk, and I thought I was going to get through life without talking. And finally I threw in the towel, and then I realized how important it is to communicate with people. You don't have to sound like the most, eloquent person. Like, I'm trying to learn how to be like that. But you don't have to be like that. You just, focus on your tone and be kind to others. But if people are not kind to you, turn the other cheek. And I don't mean let them step all over you. Just ignore them, shut them out. Again, you have the knowledge. And if you're going through these turbulences, again, I had that refined way without going anywhere, and that's meditation. And it does wonders for me. Yeah. Last card. Death, because it's all going to come to end. Everything's temporarily. You're going to come through this, with the baby at the bottom, the child, born anew. With that woman leaned to the side over here. Seems like some of us here might be going through some energy elevations that may cause chaos to them. And then with this Pope-like figure, you have somebody who's going to come in your life to possibly connect with, to help you possibly to overcome this. Again, I was talking about a psychologist. That could be a significance here. And with the king laying down with his crown off, all these egotistical minds that you see lately, that's coming to an end. That's why everything's in my opinion, that's why everything's in an uproar right now. Why everything's kind of pretty chaotic right now. Because the ego is trying to die. And in these old identities that are still trying to thrive, to live, they're going to come to an end. I think this is, I believe, our president's last term. And I'm not going to get, but it's almost like, again, I kind of consider, the ego mind, it's trying to do its last stand before it dies away. It thinks it's going to win, but it's going to lose. Just like that's how I relate the battle with heaven and hell. I never understood that phrase of what's the point of fighting a war that we're already winning. And I think that was more of a metaphor about hell being the ego and then heaven being the consciousness. The ego thinks it's still going to win when the consciousness realizes it's not going to win, because there's nothing to win. Life seems like it's real because of pain and suffering, but really, without that, it would just be an illusion. I had a taste of that before, and it's been a long time since then. And it's okay to live with your pain and suffering. That, to me, is the art of being a human being, is live in harmony with everything. That doesn't mean you have to be good to everyone, or nice to, or be a people pleaser, or feel good all the time. You're a human being. Thank you guys for watching. Love you guys. See you in the next one. Bye for now.